Coming up on All About Android, it's a new year, and boy, there's not a whole lot of news, but we make the best of it. It's me, Jason Howell, Ron Richards, and Florence Ion. We talk about the S21, the Galaxy S21 event that is announced and happening soon. Project Soli apparently coming to the Nest Hub. OnePlus has some wearables in the pipeline. And then we shift gears and we talk about what we got for Christmas. Ron has some smart home woes, whole bunch of stuff in there, and your email next on All About Android.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Stop handing over your personal data to ISPs who mine your activity and sell off your information. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid. Hello and welcome to All About Android, episode 506, recorded on Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. Your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm Florence Ion. Happy New Year, guys.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Welcome back.
Back together.
Changes.
I am so sorry, Jason, that I missed the show last week, and I'm so bummed I missed Mateo and Miriam. I was all, as everyone can see, if you're watching the video show, you can see I'm in a different location. If you're listening to the audio show, I'm in a different location. I was moving last week, and while I thought I'd be able to do the show, it just didn't happen, so I'm sorry about that.
It's all good.
It's good to be back.
We had a great show. We missed you, of course, but Miriam and Mateo were fantastic. We talked all about last year and a little bit about this upcoming year, and now we've got you two back. And I got to say, I'm really digging the wood paneling in that room, Ron.
Mm-hmm.
It is
pretty fantastic.
It is nice. I do have to admit, for those who longtime listeners of the show know that for the past couple of years I've been living in New York City in a 1-bedroom apartment with my wife and 2 children for the past 2 years at least. So we finally made the move out to the suburbs, and so now I'm in a house, and I am now in the dedicated Ron XO studio that I'll be building out and I'll be decorating. So this year we're gonna get to watch this evolve and change.
Nice.
And I'm very tempted to tap into our wonderful network of friends of the show, friends of All About Android, because it is my goal to have the best possible shot that I'm going to be able to do. Like I want like a Juan Bagnell shot, like I want.
Yeah, I was going to say
a Josh Vergara shot.
Like,
I got advice coming your way, buddy.
So great. So I made Burke. I already made Burke happy tonight. I am plugged in via Ethernet directly into the Verizon FiOS fiber.
Wow.
So I'm getting many hundreds down and hundreds up. So things are good. We'll talk more about that later in the show because there's some interesting adventures I'm going on. But yeah, so it's good to be back on the show.
Do I need to do any finessing
with my
your
shot?
To
your
my
shot's
shot,
looking pretty
like
good.
You've already done that, I thought.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like
I've been the one on the janky Logitech webcam and like the little light that Burke sent me a couple of years ago. Like
lighting
do some
issues,
equipment upgrades here. Yeah.
And literally the kitchen sink in the background.
Literally.
So you've made some you've began the changes, and Flo, yes. I think your shot. Yeah, it looks fantastic.
I'm open to feedback.
Ron, you could use some like Calvin Klein like posters back there. It looks like
interesting choice.
You know what I'm saying? I think you know exactly what I'm saying.
Sadly I do, but yeah, you can see some.
I was kind of hoping to see Ron go for a Twin Peaks look, get some red curtain walls, some black and white flooring.
It's very funny that you said that because earlier today I was on a work Zoom call and someone was complimenting my new location. I said, well, as a Twin Peaks fan, I'm actually okay with this room. So yeah.
All right.
There you go. Although if you do go for the curtain wall, like Flo was saying, that'll even improve your sound as well.
And we'll talk backwards just for the effect.
Yes.
Maybe we'll do a whole episode backwards, and everybody's going to have to go through the trouble of downloading it, reversing it, and then listening to it. Real fans we have that would actually do that.
Chug along.
Okay,
chug along.
Sat down to take a look at the news today, and big surprise, there has not been a whole lot of news. But we did find a few things to talk about. Before we jump into that, just want to take this opportunity at the beginning of this new year and at the top of the show to say, hey, help us step off on the right foot this year. If you haven't reviewed us, let's say on Apple Podcasts or any other podcatcher or whatever, like I feel like we haven't asked for this in years. And it just occurred to me, why not start things off right? We've totally redone how the show is in the last year and everything. So if you want to give us a fresh review, we would certainly appreciate it. Go into your podcatcher of choice, whatever that may be, and see if you can drop us a review. I just think that would be neat. So, hey, suddenly we're the podcast that asks for reviews, but there you go.
And also, I would add to that, because we, for years this podcast, we've always say like writing reviews is a great way to, to let people know about the show and help spread the word. But something I used to say over when I did iFanboy, my comic book podcast, the best thing you can do is actually word of mouth. And if you have friends who are into this stuff, tell them about the show. I'm sure maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but just say, hey, I really like the show. You should check it out. That also helps a lot too. So.
Yeah. If you know someone who just got an Android phone, it's almost like if we could, we would give you a podcast to insert into the box with the phone.
If you know somebody, a loved one or one close to you that's got an Android phone, get them support. Don't let them go at this alone. Get them support now. Call 1-800-AAA-FLO.
Wow.
Sorry, I put my name in there.
You've got
that got weird.
FLO. You've got some serious medication commercial vibes going on there. That was good. I think that's
that's
class marketing
action
right
lawsuit
there.
Ones that I see all the time, but I didn't want to put it in that category.
Oh, that works too. Yes. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's jump right into said news. It's time for the news.
New year, new stuff, new grudges on Android News.
New grudges indeed. That is very true. I've got some new grudges.
Wow. Yeah, we're going to be talking all about some grudges throughout this show. We got stuff to talk about.
Changing the show name to All About Grudges.
All about grudges that we hold. But I don't hold a grudge against Samsung. No, because you know what? They can hold their new Galaxy device announcement any damn time they please. And they're flexing that muscle by confirming that the Galaxy S21 and a series of phones is going to be announced on January 14th in an event that we now know of. It is a virtual event officially announced Thursday, January 14th, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, where we're expecting to hear all about the Galaxy S21, the S21 Plus. Both of those phones, by the way, based on what we know and have heard, are similar in most ways. They just happen to be different sizes. And then the S21 Ultra, which will be really interesting because Samsung's had the Ultra devices already, but this one's going to take it a step further, right? This is going to be like of course, the top of the line S21, improved internals, better cameras, apparently a curved display, which I kind of wish it didn't have that, but whatever. And then support for the S Pen, and that's a big deal because the news is that there will be no more Notes, and so apparently the Note is the Ultra of the flagship. So the S21 Ultra would be the Note then when you take that out in that direction. And then we also might actually hear about the Galaxy Buds Pro, some earbuds that seem to be leaking all over the place right now. Active noise cancellation, 500 milliamp hour battery, an increase in battery capacity, and 3 different colors. So and yeah, we'll be covering it live at TWiT. Flo and I will be virtually on set January 14th, starting at 7 a.m. Pacific. You should join us. But anyone excited? What are your thoughts about the kind of the different time of year? This event is a couple of months earlier than Samsung normally does. Also, the Note going away and being replaced by the Ultra. What do you guys think?
Does the time? I mean, what matters at the time of year, right?
Totally.
Like time has lost all meaning, so why not?
That's
right?
true. That's true. Well, but it is interesting to me though that Samsung has had a very rigid kind of structure between their 2 device categories, their 2 flagship device categories, the S series generally, I want to say March, right? It's usually like March, somewhere around there,
Late
I think.
February, usually around
late February,
MWC.
early March. So this is bumping it up a full month to month and a half, further than it normally is. And then the Note series at the end of the summer. And now they're just like, nope, you know what? Going forward, we're going to start, I'm assuming, we're going to start every year with all of our flagships. And then what? Later in the year, it's foldables? I don't know. I guess we'll see. What do you think, Flo?
I have a feeling this has a little bit to do with the pandemic. And I think it speaks volumes of... And if this really does have to do with pandemic, it speaks to how quickly Samsung can move through that manufacturing process and just be like, we're going to do it this way instead of doing it the way we've been doing. It does make sense. Economically, the world is kind of in flux right now. I know we hear all sorts of different things, but for those of us on the ground who live day to day like normal people, it's kind of in flux right now. So I feel like having Samsung just sort of throw it all out there, say, here's what we're putting out for the year. I'm kind of in favor of that. Also, because the way that we've been doing reviews and looking at phones for the past couple of years, it's been really inefficient. So why not have these phones come out at the beginning of the new year and then giving us time to sort of like really use them and have them make their impact in the communities they're supposed to be serving, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily need to turn around and we're not going to have that kind of buzz around phones this year just because of how much is still kind of blanketed over the whole world. So I like this because it's like, well, I got to go back into the real world that's going on around me. Let's see if this phone can help me through it. I don't know. That's sort of how I'm thinking of maybe a macro like marketing technique or something.
Help me, phone Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Well, yeah. Who else is going to help me doom scroll at all hours of the day? So
seriously, we need help doing that because we really need to do that, Yeah. So, looking forward to the event. And I don't know. I've liked the last Ultras. I have the Note 20 Ultra that I've been using pretty frequently, particularly for like B-roll and product shots and reviews and stuff for the network. Before that, I had the S20 Ultra, and it's a pretty fantastic device. So when you're talking about premium non-foldable Samsung device, the Ultra is the way to go, it seems, at least in the near term. And now they're going to add the S Pen, so that adds more value. I'll be curious to see what the price is on that then.
Those foldables are seriously cool. So I'm fine with us having like a separate show for that. That's fine because that definitely is like the niche. It's probably the foldables will be the new Note.
Yeah,
the Note before was sort of like the major fan service,
the edge case, right? Like,
yeah. And so now it's the folding phone takes that, and here's a stylus if you want it, you can pay for it.
I would like to note that here we are on January 5th, 2021, and Flo just lauded how cool foldables are and how that's going to be an exciting thing to look forward to. I mean,
you know why?
I'm just saying, as being the foldable guy a couple of years ago now.
You know what? You gotta blame TikTok on this one.
Wow.
Because
it all goes back to TikTok.
Went into the matrix and I started to just sort of go on the tags that, kind of Venn diagram with, what I do. And Gen Z loves the foldables. They love them.
Wow.
Does Gen Z have by and large enough money to support their foldable habit?
Probably somebody else's money, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's probably not all Gen Z, but I gotta tell you, there's a lot of accounts out there that have really pushed me on. It's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting. Speaking of interesting, we're going to give you the hardware news right now before we take a break. So we've got some hardware news for you too. Check this out. All right, Flo, you got it. what you got. What is the
right.
got?
So if you've been following any of the Project Soli news at all the last couple of years, you probably wondered to yourself, this would probably be better somewhere else in another one of Google's product lineups. Well, guess what? You've manifested it. And here it is. The fruits of your manifestation. So it looks like a new Google device has passed through the FCC, and we're thinking it's got a little something to do with that. I don't know, a little Nest Hub smart display with a little smallest violin action. Yes, I'm referring to the little. Imagine the little finger for those of you listening to the audio. Anyway, so this device passed through the FCC. The frequency range on the device seems to point to the inclusion of Soli. And this means, of course, that it could support improved air gestures. So you can play the world's tiniest violin to perhaps scroll through a YouTube video. I don't know, maybe. Currently, the Nest Hub Max supports basic gestures. The screen turns on within proximity. You can also play and pause with your palm up. And I think fist stops it. So there are little signs out there that this is officially going to be a thing this year. So that's exciting. I'm into this.
Yeah. Well, and you have the Nest Hub, right? Or I assume that you did.
Not the Nest Hub Max. I don't have that one. I did try it at Google I/O 2 years ago. That was me sniffing because I'm sad. I haven't been to I/O in a while.
Yeah.
But no, I don't have it.
No one has, thankfully.
No one has.
So it's not like it's not like you're
us.
missing. Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, so I've still got the 4XL. Right. This is what I'm using. This is what I choose to use for the next year or until a phone comes along that woos me away from the 4XL. I still, what is this, a year and a few months later, never ever use the Soli functionality. Actually, and I feel like I say this on the show a lot, and then I always end up correcting myself, except for the fact that I do appreciate that when I go to the phone and I'm in a dark room, the screen turns on. That's like the only Soli function that I'm happy Soli is on there. But is it, is that enough reason for a expensive part to exist inside of a phone? I don't know. I think something on a hub device like this, as we've talked about before, makes a whole lot more sense with Soli. If they really kind of double down on it, and if they bug check it enough and really refine it enough to be very accurate, which I don't know, maybe it's just not possible to get it to that point of accuracy that's like it works every time. But there's some Soli functions on the 4XL that I just never felt like it's a 100% shot. It's always like, oh, I got to get within that point of error in order to make it work. But
I feel like with a stationary device like a smart speaker, they're able to better hone that in versus a phone. Yeah. Usually your proximity is going to, be, I don't know. I really like, for instance, one of the Lenovo smart displays that I have, the 7-inch one, pointing it to here at my side. I like it that this time at night when I approach it, it'll give me the whole home control panel. So like all these little helpful things. I think this is the best implementation for this technology. And there's other ways to make the screen turn on.
That's true.
So
that is true. All right. So hopefully, I doubt we're going to learn about this anytime in the near future, but I don't know. Cause it seems like Google, maybe they're going to not have events for these things.
I don't even know what timeline to be on this year. I know. We already talked about the Galaxy coming early, so who knows what that's going to mean for everything else.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just roll this stuff out and announce it the same way that they did with the phones in the fall, right? Like here they are.
Like we just woke up one morning and it was launched.
And you got to imagine that an FCC passing is pretty close to release of something, right? I mean that usually
betting on it.
Usually a couple of months.
Usually you're not going to the FCC unless you're sure you're bringing this to market. So yeah, I mean, maybe Google, much like Samsung, Google's like, screw the May for I/O, October for products. Like, let's do stuff in April, or and if that's what we have to look forward to this year, with like all these manufacturers keeping us on our toes and things popping up when we least expect it, that'll make it fun. So
yeah, nice distraction.
Yeah.
So we shall see. In other news of things that are somewhere down the horizon.
Yeah, somewhere down the horizon and a little bit of a distraction. Our good friends at OnePlus are growing up. If you think about it, OnePlus these past couple of years has really honed their phone business. So what's the next natural step? It confirmed that they're going to release a smartwatch in 2021, but before that, we can expect a fitness band. So wearables are in OnePlus's future. OnePlus India tweeted out a promo image of the fitness band, and it said, "The new face of fitness coming soon." And images of the fitness band have leaked as well, complete with the OnePlus logo on the watch face. And these leaked details include SpO2 blood saturation monitoring, IP68 water protection, and 13 exercise modes. So if you are a OnePlus phone owner and you wanted to, get a wearable, but you wanted to keep it in the family, OnePlus sounds like they're going to start rolling out some stuff for you to do that. Could this be why Carl Pei left OnePlus or not?
The fitness band, that was just a bridge too far. I'm out of here.
I don't want to do wearables. We just do phones. No, I don't know. But
I doubt it.
I feel like our conversations around OnePlus in the latter part of 2020 was about how the company is changing and how they, were mid-range and then had flagships and back to mid-range and then more than just phones is a natural offering. I mean, do you think OnePlus is capable of putting out a fitness band or a smartwatch that's worth wearing and using?
Yes.
Okay, based on what?
Well, because they're going to go into the lineups where they can get the wearables that are affordable for folks, and they're just going to go in and tweak it a little bit with their little OnePlus software magic and make something that sort of works within this ecosystem that they're trying. I mean, I've seen what they've done with Oxygen OS, and so based on that, I would have a lot of interest in this product. I won't necessarily say trust, just because again, it's not. I don't think of OnePlus and go, "Oh, OnePlus, I'm gonna run a mile with OnePlus." You know what I mean?
But Flo, you can't spell interest without trust. Okay, it's a bad joke. Sorry.
Oh,
that's true. Then you made me go through that in my head, and so I had to take a pause. But anyway, with what Google's doing with Fitbit, or apparently going to be doing, I feel like this is a good way to sort of put something out on the market that's affordable. The Xiaomi method, right? So they put out all the affordable phones, and then they had all the affordable accessories. So it makes sense. OnePlus would do the same, but for the U.S. market.
And the folks at Android Police who wrote the article that we're kind of referring to, they're also positing OnePlus is pretty close in, they say, proximity to Oppo, and we have the Oppo band. So it's very possible that this is based on the Oppo band. And, we've certainly seen that kind of like cross-pollination between the two brands. So, yeah, pretty likely that they'll come out with a product that's reasonable.
Birds and the bees, cross-pollination.
That's how it works.
Or investor strategic relationship bees, birds.
Right. They're getting busy over there. Okay. That as
wow.
I like how far we took that, by the way. I just want
happy New Year, everybody. I'm so happy for another year of podcasting with the All About Android crew.
That's right. That is the extent of the news in this week's episode. That's right. There was probably other stuff, but nothing that really bubbled to the top. So we came up with some really great stuff to talk about throughout the remainder of the show. And, of course, your email. Hold tight for that, though, because we want to thank the sponsor of this episode of All About Android, and that is ExpressVPN. How do you choose the internet provider that you're using? Most of us, let's be honest, we don't have a whole lot of choice, right? So many markets, there's a single ISP. There's just no choice whatsoever. ISPs operate kind of like monopolies in that regard. And then they can end up using that power to kind of take advantage of customers, things like data caps. We're seeing that a lot. Streaming throttling, so if you're streaming a lot of video, throttling your video and you need less quality, or that in combination with the data caps, it's just a bad scene. They can really do whatever they want because it really does feel like a monopoly at times. Worst of all, many ISPs are actually logging your internet activity. They're selling that data on to other big tech companies. or advertisers. So they're monetizing you. And you can prevent ISPs from seeing your internet activity. You can protect all of your devices with ExpressVPN. It's what I do. So what is ExpressVPN? It's a simple app. Of course, an Android app, but you can also load it onto your computer, any of your smartphones that you have. It encrypts all of your network data and then channels that through a secure VPN server. So essentially, your ISP is not going to see any of your activity. It's not going to know what's going on. It's essentially random data to their eyes, and you're protected in that regard. So you can just kind of think about how much of your life is on the internet. Every site you visit, every video that you watch, every message that you send, all of that can get tracked by ISPs if it's not protected. And like I said, they can sell that information for profit. So we recommend ExpressVPN. It's the best way to hide your online activity from your ISP. You just download the app, tap one button. It's super easy. You just tap a single button, wait a few seconds, and boom, you're protected. It's protecting the data that you send from your device out into the internet. And ExpressVPN does all of this without actually slowing down your connection. Some VPNs slow things to a crawl, and you don't get that with ExpressVPN. That's why it's rated the #1 VPN service by CNET and Wired. I've got it on my router, so it protects the house even. You can have ExpressVPN running at the router level, so everything, all the data that passes through it is protected. It's just really useful. So many different ways to use it. So stop handing over your personal data to ISPs and other tech giants who might actually mine your activity and sell off your information. Protect yourself with a VPN that we trust to keep ourselves private online, especially here in the Howell household. Visit expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid. That's expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid. When you do that, you're going to get 3 extra months free. So go to expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid right now and get those extra 3 months free onto your service right now. And you can learn more there. And we thank ExpressVPN for their continued support of All About Android. We don't have any bumpers for these segments, but we were talking before the show, and we're like, what are we going to talk about? And hey, it's a new year. Some of us got some really cool things for Christmas that are related to this show. So we thought we might kind of go through these and some of the thoughts that we have about them and everything like that. So what'd y'all get for Christmas that's even remotely Android related? Android, what is it? Android
adjacent.
Adjacent. There we go. Android adjacent. What'd you guys get?
I got a house to put a studio in.
Oh, did it have a bow on it?
No, but I got it the week of Christmas, and then we didn't buy each other Christmas presents because we just bought a house. So
that's a pretty good present. Yeah, I think at that point you're excused.
No, but actually later in the show we'll get to my how that ties into my Android world. But Flo, I feel like you had a more beneficial Christmas than I did.
I mean, yeah, but I mean no, because I didn't buy. I mean, anyway. Start that over again.
Let me guess. I think maybe none of us got anything for Christmas. Anyways, what's the next segment? No, just kidding.
Santa brought our family an Oculus Quest 2. Okay, we got it for the family. It's our little. We're stuck at home. It just seems like a thing that would be fun to do, and nobody's ready for the PS5. And we just cut over to Jason having the Quest 2 on right now.
Yeah, I'm in a virtual world right now. In fact, I'm doing a podcast right now. This is some really cool technology. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes, the Quest 2 is awesome, I have to say.
It looks good on you, Jason. I mean, Jason wears it well. It's a little harder on me with the long hair. I do have to, it's been an interesting sort of couple of weeks with it, because at first I was like, okay, I guess we're getting this thing. But then I got a little excited because I remembered the things about Google Daydream that got me excited about VR. And the Oculus Quest 2 just has more power than what our phones are putting out, quite frankly. My husband's been doing a lot of laying in bed, hanging out in Byzantine Orthodox churches. He finds them to be very calming. So that's something that I will go, 10:30, walk into the room to get ready for bed, and he's just laying in bed with the Quest on and is hanging out with some monks. So that's what he's been doing.
Is that an app that is easily obtainable? I'm very curious about that.
I'll tell you offline what he's been using for that, but he says it's been very relaxing to do some of those little like trips. Because you get to go around the world, which we can't really do right now. So this is a nice way to sort of evoke that feeling. And then for me, I really miss Rock Band. And the thing that I really got excited for with VR was the ability to sort of play these rhythm games. So I got Beat Saber, of course, and another game called Synth Rider, which has been really fun because the Synth Rider one, in addition to Beat Saber, which of course I have the BTS pack, but on Synth Rider, it's a bunch of synthwave that I listen to on Spotify. So it's kind of fun to just basically get your heart rate up for a little bit with this thing on. And it's something that we've been able to kind of all do kind of not completely as a family because there's one person and everybody else to watch, but it's something that we've been able to do even with the baby around. As long as, somebody's watching her on the other end. But But the other thing that just sort of has, I don't know, I feel like every time I go into the Oculus menu, I just feel like I'm living in Daydream. Everything from the loading dock, wherever you're sort of settling in when you turn on the headset, to the way that you sort of move the controllers to get around. I was already very used to the orienting ability, which is you basically hold down the Oculus button and it reorients like which way you're facing.
Right. Yep.
I loved that it has IR and a bunch of other helpful cameras that can help you see like your play area. So you can put it on and like set your play area and all this. But, again, going back to the interface, it just felt so Android-y. And so it just made me think, like, with Daydream dead, is this how all of that work that Google did is going to live on? As this sort of, like, is there, I have to look into this per my job as a journalist, but is there a correlation between what Google was doing with Daydream? Like, what have they sort of shared? Because obviously there was some sort of, there had to be some sort of exchange with the Quest having that Android interface. It just feels so much like what Daydream could have been if the controllers were just better. Like, I don't know that Daydream would have flopped the way it did if it were not for the controlling mechanism, because I think that's what makes it for the Oculus. I don't know. Ron, I'm sorry. I know you haven't really played with one, but I'm just sort of curious what you guys think with, Daydream dying last year or being put to bed and where we are now with these standalone headsets.
I never really, you guys have more experience with it. I never got to play that closely with Daydream other than just, trying it at events when it rolled out. I had a friend who had a Quest 1 who loved it and thought it was awesome. And so like, I'm not surprised to hear the Quest 2 is as good. But I just still don't think the demand or the audience is there for VR. And I've had the pleasure of working on my day job. We released one of the a VR title for PlayStation and all that sort of stuff. And dealing with social media and dealing with the audience and stuff like that, I didn't see it blowing up or anything. And I will admit that when I saw the Star Wars game promotion around Quest, I was like, ooh, that's pretty cool. But it doesn't move me to jump at it. But I'm not, but I'm so far from my gamer years. I don't know if I'm the right, I'm an old man now. I don't know if I'm the right one to talk about, but none of my circle of friends are like, oh my God, you've got to do this. You got to try it. And that's usually I go by the critical mass of external exposure, and I don't see it at all in the category at all. I don't know. Jason, what do you think?
I think VR is still very early. Right. It's still very early days. I don't think VR is going anywhere. I think there's enough there's enough energy behind VR that it'll continue. It's not going to do what it did in the 90s where it was like, oh, VR is going to be really great. And then you just never heard anything about it because the technology wasn't there to back it up. I think there's enough of a community and interest around it to keep it going. Is it as popular as like a regular game console, like a PS5 or a PS4 or Xbox or whatever? No, not yet. But I think it certainly has the potential. And I think right now, I mean, there were stock issues keeping it in stock. There have been throughout the pandemic. The pandemic's been a really kind of prime time for VR to really shine. We now have the Quest 1 and the Quest 2 in the house. And we also happen to have the PlayStation VR system. And between those three, like, the Quests blow the PlayStation system out of the water in so many different ways, right? You're tethered on the PlayStation VR, and it really does just become annoying when you're used to being untethered on the Quest systems. But what I've noticed is, I've got 2 daughters, and I will throw each of them into one of the Quests, and then I'll get on the PlayStation VR and we'll play a game called Rec Room. And in this time of pandemic, restriction, where we're so restricted in what we can do and the types of entertainment we can enjoy, man, it is so liberating to throw on these headsets and be in the same like room, so we're like in the living room / dining room, all 3 of us with headsets on. But in the virtual world, there we are standing in the bowling alley, or there we are on the paintball, in the paintball stadium. And it's transformative.
And you're together.
And you're all together. So we're all talking to each other and laughing like crazy because we're having this shared experience, disc golf. There's just a number of these experiences that we've done now where I'm just like I'm sold at that point. In an isolated situation, it's neat, but I reach my end point, after like 30, 40 minutes. I'm like, all right, I just want to, rest or whatever. When I'm there with somebody, man, I could play for hours, given that I'm comfortable enough and, I'm fed and everything like that. It's a really cool experience, enough so that I'm convinced that VR is here to stay. It's just going to take a while to kind of reach its point, and maybe it'll never be as popular as a sit-down gaming console, but there's a place for it, and it's actually really cool when you have the right scenario. It's hard to compare.
I feel like that probably explains why. I mean, this made me just think I want to get to the bottom to see what is happening to Daydream, how it's being sort of taken apart and put into the available VR world.
So are you wondering if like Facebook and Google have some sort of agreement where Google is like, you know what, Daydream's going to go away, here, have this for Oculus? Is that kind of where your mind is jumping? Or?
Well, I'm wondering if somebody at Google didn't approach Facebook and said, hey, we have this this for you. I'm wondering if there's some inner deals,
I don't think so. There's no way people stay quiet enough for that to be a reality. I mean, if there was some sort of partnership between Google and Facebook, we would hear about it in some way, shape, or form.
Well, then perhaps it really just is because Android is so open.
Yeah.
I mean, Facebook can just up and put it on
right?
Quest.
I think there's definitely something, though, to be said about the fact that Google, with Daydream and Cardboard before it, the Google was in a really good position to do something really crazy and great with Daydream. Maybe they were just too soon. But if Google had done what Facebook has done, or what Oculus has done with this hardware, yeah, we'd probably be be in a different position, talking about the VR space and like who the big players are. If Google had come out with this hardware, it would be really hard, I feel, to deny the awe factor of it when you actually check it out. What Facebook has created here is really great. Of course, you have the whole data, side of things, and I had to create a junk account on Facebook in order to even play with it, and that just feels wrong. Like I don't want to have to do that, but damn, the hardware's so cool. Like it's hard for me to not have it.
That's why it made me just think about like Daydream, because that's an ecosystem that I'm really married to, and I would have, I made the commitment. I would have happily stepped into that world. So it's, I don't know. I guess we'll keep saying, I think you both are right. Because of what's happening to us right now as humanity, I think a lot of this technology is going to find a place in people's lives that they maybe didn't think about having it before. And if you think about it, a Quest 2 is about the price of a Nintendo Switch. And
totally.
The Switch is another one of those consoles that's been really hard to find during this time because that's what people kind of need to get through, I think, more than sort of those other big name consoles, because it's a little more, a Nintendo is a little more approachable than a PlayStation or an Xbox. And I feel like
sure, absolutely,
maybe the Quest 2 will be, again, a much more approachable way to VR. We shall see.
Yeah, I think so.
But I'm glad Santa brought me one.
Yeah. I think it's a really great, very interesting piece of hardware, and I've had a blast with our Quests so far. Real quick before we transition out of this, what did we get for Christmas? I should say probably one of the best gifts I got this year didn't come from don't tell my family. Didn't come from my family. It came from a coworker, Russell, who does all the IT and systems stuff at TWiT. Totally surprised me with this. The Commodore 64.
Wow.
Wait, the original, right? Not the little remake.
No, so this is not the original. This is basically a replica, remake of the Commodore 64 called the C64, which is, it's a different naming, but it's basically the same. And like, I've got it all hooked up here.
That's pretty cool.
Picture. It comes with the joystick. It goes HDMI out, so I've got it going in. And actually, let me get back out to the menu system. I don't have the sound going right now, but it ships with I think it's of course, probably like 64 games. But the cool thing about it is you can use this. You can look it up online, Project Carousel, and you can flash onto a thumb drive and then plug it into the back in the USB port and essentially flash different games into this UI. And when you do that, I mean, you just have, basically thousands of these old ancient Commodore 64 games. Growing
Jason,
up as a kid,
sorry.
this was my system.
I need to interrupt you to tell you that there is a Spice Girls Commodore 64 demo on the Internet Archive that I need you to download for me.
Okay.
All it does is it plays one Spice Girl song in Commodore 64 bitrate, basically. But
okay, that
sorry,
sounds amazing.
I had to interrupt you to tell you that. I did.
That's okay. Hey, I get it. The Commodore 64 has the SID chip in it, which I wish I could play sound for you right now, but the way I have this all connected in my system, it doesn't have the sound passing through to the stream. This is Jumpman, which was a really great game.
So good.
It's this just gives me so much joy. I have to tell you, I was surprised when I found out that there was this package waiting for me. Actually, Burke was the one that told me, "Hey, I have something for you. It's got your name on it." I had no idea.
Oh.
And it turned out that Russell, these are actually the pre-orders for this started in November, and they're really hard to get. But somehow Russell was able to secure one. And he sent it to me. I was just like, that is incredibly thoughtful, because as a nerd who grew up with the Commodore 64, this is like dream come true for me. So anyways, I'm super stoked on this thing. It's super nerdy, but I love it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, totally. And it was just great that it was such a surprise too. Not running Android, by the way. But yeah, you can, if you have all of the old, there it is. If you have all of the old D64 files, you can program in BASIC on it. Actually, I should have written a BASIC program and shown you, because it's just amazing. But anyways, I've actually literally played hours of it since I've had it. That's how geeked out I am on this thing. So it's really cool. I plan on reviewing it on Hands on Tech. So. The games that ship with it, by the way, aren't amazing. Some of them are good. Some of them are forgettable.
Santa got us a new house. He got us VR. He helped a coworker get one of us Commodore 64. It was a pretty good Christmas, guys.
Yeah, pretty good Christmas. For those who someone's asking in chat, $130 for the C64. So there you go.
It's a good deal.
It's hard to find, but if you had one as a kid, you'll love it. All right, up next. Well, we're going to continue this fun. Ron's going to share a bit of his home automation journey from the holiday break and a few other things. So, Ron, what's going on in your home? I know you're in a new home and you've had some troubles.
New year, not so much. Well, I had one mind-bendingly frustrating problem, which I'll talk about in a second. But so to clue the audience in, our very fine listeners and viewers, the conversation that we've been having in our own little private chat group was that, hey, I got a blank slate in front of me. I'm in an nearly empty house, multiple bedrooms, kitchen, living room, all stuff like that. Previously I've been in apartments and places I didn't own, and it was hard to make changes to or things like that. But now I've got a blank canvas that I can build a smart home of my choosing, right? And in doing so, immediately I was overwhelmed with the options of what to do, right? Of what to get. And when you think about it, it's funny because like I've tinkered with IoT stuff. I've tinkered with smart home stuff in the various apartments where I've had Google Homes and I've had some smart outlets and I've had, things here and there. But the level of smart home stuff that Flo has covered in her vast experience of journalism capabilities, as well as everything, and Jason, the stuff that you've done, I feel like you guys have much more, kind of experience with this stuff. And so really where I, kind of netted out was like, all right, so, I've got 2 dumb old Honeywell thermostats I need to change. Do I just go with Nest or is there another option? If I have Google Home devices in the house, and I'm using Google Assistant and I don't use Google family products, how much of a pain in the butt is it to manage all that? My sister has the Ring doorbell and the Ring, driveway light camera and all that sort of stuff. But I'm not on the Amazon ecosystem, so it's all these kind of decisions and questions that are happening. But so I would love to get your guys' kind of advice as to the directions I should go in. But to share the immediate problem I had, I was like, all right, well, I got Verizon Fios hooked up. I got, this past weekend, I got the gigabit connection. I got the brand new router. It's fantastic. I'm like, great. Well, let me start with my Google Home, right? And I've got my Google Home, the display, which is now it's called the Nest Hub, right? They changed the name of it. But that Google Home display lived in our kitchen and was like the central, we play music on it. We check the weather on it. We, entertain the kids by playing animal sounds on it, all this fun stuff. I'm like, great, let me hook that up. And I spent literally all day Saturday trying to connect the dang thing to the Wi-Fi. No matter how hard I tried every scenario, and I looked up, I was on every Reddit thread and every Google support thread about it. I would go through so what I did was in the Google Home app, the device was previously in my apartment. It was on my old Wi-Fi network, right? So now the SSID has changed. I'm in a new location. So in order to do that, you can't go and change the Wi-Fi credentials in a device on Google Home. What you have to do is remove the device and re-add it to your home and reset it up. I'm like, all right, fine. So let me do that. And I would go through the process and it would see the device and it would do the thing where it connects to the Wi-Fi from the device and it would do the handshake. And I'd see the code on my phone that matched the code on the screen. I'm like, okay. And then it would get to the point of choose the Wi-Fi network. And I would choose my Wi-Fi network. And then it would immediately come up with an error saying, could not connect to your Nest Hub. Okay. That was the only option. And I know I'm not a developer. I've self-admitted I'm not a developer. I know enough about this stuff that error message was coming up far too fast that nothing was happening. Like no connection was trying to be made. Like as soon as I tapped the Wi-Fi, it got that error message every time.
Yeah, I've seen that before, right?
Yeah, and so I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And so I put it on airplane mode, my phone, and then turned on Wi-Fi so there was no mobile network interference. Like I did all these little tips and tricks and hacks that I read on Reddit threads and on Google product forums. Nothing worked. I thought it's because I have the new Verizon Fios router currently, and they have the self-organizing network feature. So there's not an SSID for 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz. It basically the device and the router talk and they figure out what channel it should be on. right? And so there's just one SSID. And I read online people like, oh, there are problems with Google products and Verizon Fios routers and turn off self-organizing network, or you need to change the channel the 5 gigahertz band is on. And I spent all day tinkering with that. Nothing worked. Literally nothing worked. I was ready to throw the whole thing into the ocean, which, by the way, is walking distance.
Okay.
Sorry. So,
at least there's that.
Technically not the ocean, but the Long Island Sound. And then finally, I was like, screw this. There's got to be some way to manually factory reset the Google Home and just start from scratch. And so turns out I didn't even know this, but if you hold down both the volume up and volume down button on the rocker switch on the back of the Google Home Nest Hub, if you hold it for 5 seconds, that will factory reset the device. And so I did that, and I did the onboarding through Home, and it worked. And I was like, great, except now I need to go back to my router and undo all that garbage that I did.
Oh, sounds like a nightmare.
So then I had to factory reset the router and get it back to a normal state, and then factory reset the Google Home again and bring it back on the network. And now everything is working and everything is good. So that was my Saturday adventure. But this brings me to my question, which is, in your guys' experience, stick with the Verizon Fios router or go to the Google mesh network, Google Wi-Fi, right? Then if I do that, should I go Nest for the thermostat and go Nest for all the cameras and everything? Or does it make sense to break up what I'm using and use different products, understanding that I might be able to navigate multiple apps in the Google Assistant? My wife isn't. She needs the simplest way to use all this stuff as possible, right? So I guess, the question that I have for both you guys as well as anybody in our audience, which is, what are the thoughts? If you had a blank slate of a home, how would you kit it out, knowing what you know now?
Wow.
I defer to you, Flo. This is your beat.
I gotta say, for the mesh, don't go for Google if you want to get over a certain threshold of speed. Okay. I did a Wi-Fi 6 mesh router roundup recently for Gizmodo. I think I did Battle Modo. So I looked at 6 different Wi-Fi 6 routers, and I realized, unfortunately, it was then that the Google Wi-Fi, we had the first generation one running, was severely limiting what my Wi-Fi speeds, the ones I was actually paying for. So I'm paying for gigabit internet, and I would like to get that through Wi-Fi, but I wasn't able to get that through so that's just that's, I think, separate from what smart home ecosystem you get, because mesh is just going to help. It's going to help your life no matter what you do. And there's not much in the way that you could do with the digital assistants right now that would really affect your mesh experience. Right. When it comes to digital assistants, I think staying with the Google Nest ecosystem is best, but that doesn't mean necessarily you will have to mix and match. So at my house, we mostly use Nest, but I also use a lot of TP-Link, and I really like the Casa app, but I never go into the Casa app because everything I do is through the Google Home app. What else? We use LifeX bulbs in a couple of the rooms. I really like their pigments. I think the spectrum of colors it offers, sometimes they're brighter or they can be a little more nuanced than the Philips. And again, I never go into the app for that unless I need to set a specific scene. I always use the Google Home app. So just kind of looking at these things and thinking to yourself, am I going to be okay to just go into the Google Home app to do the things I want to do? My robot vacuum, it's a Neato-Vac. But again, I can just start it from the Google Home app, which is nice and convenient, or, you can shout out the command. So I think as long as you get things that plug into the Google service, or at least just one digital assistant, then I feel like that will sort of help mitigate the headaches.
Yeah. I guess has the connection to Google Assistant become so ubiquitous that you don't need to stay in the Google product family?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Because so we were talking thermostats, Flo. We were talking that over the weekend, and right. I've been looking at the Nest Smart the learning thermostat, not the more expensive one, because my problem is that it's an older house, and I've got furnace or radiators in the bedrooms, and the kids' rooms get much hotter than the hallway where the thermostat is. And so I want a thermostat that supports a temperature sensor in a room, so I can adjust the temperature based on the temperature in the room, not where the thermostat is. And I saw that Nest has temperature sensors now, and you told me to check out the Ecobee, which I didn't even know existed.
Right, but that has a built in to.
Not only does that have a built in, I did look into it, Flo. So the Ecobee thermostat has an integration, but it's also got a Spotify integration, and it's got a speaker in it, and so you can use it for music, which is stupid.
Well, yeah,
it's silly.
It's cute. It's like a cute thing, so you can like maybe get a little like extra stereo, whatever speaker out of your thermostat, but it's also, the panel is so big. I do definitely love the Nest. I've been using one for years and over 2 different houses, and it's never steered me wrong. But one other quick thing I wanted to add, Ron, just to earlier what I was saying about the digital assistants. When it comes to like security cameras, you want to stay within the ecosystem because you want that casting ability with the smart displays.
Right.
So a lot of times, like if you have a Amazon specific smart display, you want to get a security camera that works with that, so you can like get the feed through it. So
right.
That's when you have to start thinking about the ecosystem, like when you're looking into those sort of things. And that can be hard to think of as you're shopping around, because it's not something that will come up unless you're using it and you need that specific ability. Yeah. Which is why I would suggest to you to stick with a Nest a Nest doorbell instead of a Ring doorbell, because then you get that direct feed. You basically create a security system. Like I never go to the front door unless I see that it's a package or it's somebody I know. So.
Wow, you're like Howard Hughes. You're like all locked up in your compound there.
Yeah, I've actually been getting in trouble for spending too much time in my room, but that's neither here nor there.
Because you don't.
It's very easy for me not to leave this room. I have rigged it so that it's like a control command center. I'm surrounded by like things.
Wow.
You can't see it. It's on the other side of the camera. You're not going to see the madness.
Although I appreciate Burke for trying.
Jason, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think Flo kind of summarized, anything that I would say pretty nicely. I think, we've got Hue bulbs, we've got TP-Link switches, we've got a Ring video doorbell, and most of that can be controlled through the Home app, which is great. Where I find issue is some of the flexibility that I want in the power button menu, because I actually have, some groups there that are really helpful. Sometimes I wish I could put a little bit more there. Sometimes I wish I could group. What's one thing I've realized I can't do? I can't group TP-Link plugs. I can within the Casa app, but I can't have that group surface either in the Google Home app or in the power button controls menu, which I want because we've got a couple of heaters out in the garage that we want to be able to fire with a single button. And as it is, I have to open up the Casa app and do it manually. And which sounds so petty when I say that. It's like, oh no, you've got to open the app. But when it comes to IoT, it's really all about simplifying it. Otherwise, it does become a pain in the butt. It all kind of multiplies over time. And you're like, oh, if this just
I have
is
so
this
much
one
maintenance
thing.
I actually need to do in my Google Home app. That's something I didn't admit. There's a lot of maintenance that I need to do. There are some lights right now that don't work with the assistant that are connected because I messed up naming them. I have 2 bedroom TVs on the Wi-Fi network right now because I swapped out a Chromecast with Google TV for a Chromecast. So there's these little things, Ron, that you have to as soon as you adopt a smart home system, that's a whole nother thing you have to like maintain. And I think that's the part that is the hardest of this whole thing. It's just keeping up on it. And it's just like cleaning the gutters. Welcome to the suburbs, baby.
Oh God, I just did that over the weekend. It was not fun. But it's important.
So it's I'll be honest, it's a little overwhelming. And like like we're still unpacking, we're still getting in place, but I haven't, and like part of it is like, I want to adjust. Like I'm like, I need to deal with the thermostats because I need to get the kids comfortable in their rooms, all stuff like that. But then, I don't know, this house was built in 1955, I think. And like the owner before us did very little, if no upkeep to it. And so like, I'm afraid to take the thermostat off because I don't think I have the C-wire. Right. And so if I don't have the C-wire.
I ran into that problem at both my houses. And you have to like fashion a.
Right. So there are workarounds, or you can have an electrician or whoever run the C-wire to your furnace. But like, we're going to redo the HVAC this spring. Like we're going to install central and stuff like that. So might as well wait until I do that to deal with the C-wire. And like, so like, I'm so used to like, oh, I want to do this thing. Let me just go buy it and install it because I'm in an apartment and it doesn't really matter. But like the ramifications of what we do, and like, you need to like, what I've been calling, it's a cascading effect. Like I want to do this, but I got to do this first, and I got to do this and all that sort of stuff. So it's like, part of it is like the planning paralysis issue also. So, but I am going to tackle the entertainment first.
Yes, tell us about this, please.
Well, yeah, I guess we can switch up if I can. Let me go through the TV situation, and then we. So that said, my wife and I have very different interests. I love media, I love movies, I love TV stuff. Like she enjoys them, but like in our apartment, she didn't want the TV to be like this central focus type thing. And especially with the kids, kids get hung up on watching TV and stuff like that. So we had a little 32-inch Vizio TV that had Chromecast in it. If you remember, I talked about that a while back. And that was also served as my computer monitor, right? So very, very small footprint. Now we're in this big living room. And so we're talking about TVs. And of course, I want to go big. I want to, like the whole thing. And I was like, well, what do you want out of a TV? And she said, and I should pull up this so you guys can see it. For those of you who are watching, and so Burke, I'm going to drop a link in the doc in a moment. But when I asked her what was your requirement, like how big of a TV or what do you want it to do, or whatever, all she said was, I just want a TV that someone beat me to it. Who beat me to it?
I just got it. I got it.
Nice, good job. She's like, I just want a TV that doesn't look like a TV, and I went, oh, I know of one. And so we pulled the trigger on the Samsung Frame TV, which is a TV that is built to look like a framed picture hanging on the wall. It's actually, and this thing is fascinating. I know this is a little non-Android, but I'll tie back to Android in a second. It is built in a bezel that is meant to sit flush with the wall. So when you think about like when you hang TVs, they're always on that kind of bracket. They lean a little forward. You can get to the back of them. This is supposed to sit. It mounts directly flush to the wall, so there's no gap or anything. And it has a TV mode and it has an art mode. And when you're not watching TV, it loads up beautiful high resolution artwork. And Samsung actually has like a whole art store that you can subscribe to, and you can cycle in art from art, classic works or modern works or whatever, but you can also bring in your own art or your own photos or things like that. So very, very cool. Looking at this, it looks ridiculous because if it's flush against the wall, how do you get any cables to it? Or how do you, how do you plug it in and stuff like that? And this is genius. I'll give Samsung credit here. They decoupled all of the power and connectors from the monitor. So all you're putting up on the wall is the screen, and then there's a tiny, tiny, transparent, almost fiber optic cable that runs out of the TV itself, and it comes with a 16-foot cable, and it plugs into a controller box that and you can see it if you're watching the video. The controller box is in the lower right-hand corner, and that controller box is power, is 4 HDMI ports, an Ethernet port, optical audio, all the things you need to plug into it. And
that's cool. I like that.
Based on your situation, you hide that box and you get that out of sight and you just run it from the thing. I actually got into a fight with my father because my dad works in computers and was an engineer and stuff like that. And I showed it to him. And he's like, yeah, but you have to get the electrician back. You have to route power and stuff. I'm like, no, Dad. I'm like, this one little cable. And he goes, no way that handles power. Knowing what we know about power and all stuff like that, he's like, no way it doesn't. I'm like, dude, it does. And he was like, wow. And he had to, he was as amazed as I was. So it's a 4K UHD TV. There's the cable that it looks like the Samsung Smart Cable if you're watching it on the video. And essentially it's running Tizen. So going back to Tizen, all about Tizen. Here we are. It does have Bixby on the phone. On the TV. So I'll get some adventures with Bixby, but I am planning on plugging the new Chromecast into the controller box and using the Google TV, Chromecast, new remote kind of interface for it, or I'll use my Shield. So that was the TV choice. And it's so it hasn't come in yet. It's going to be delivered and installed in about 2 weeks or so. So I'm anxiously waiting. But that will be the first kind of home approach towards bringing technology into this home. So
very cool.
Love it. Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, it's a pretty TV.
Yeah, we ended up with the.
Don't say that about many TVs.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll see. It's very gimmicky. It's more expensive than I wanted to spend, but it's like But I felt like given the aesthetic was important to my wife, so let's let's meet in the middle, and so I say I don't buy the Nest thermostats for a few more months. I'll figure that out. But
what size did you get?
55 inch.
55.
So. Yeah, we went to Best Buy to look at it, and the 65 was intimidating to her. But also it's gonna we're putting it above the mantle, above the fire, the fireplace, so it'll fit nicely and pretty cool. But yeah, so we'll see. So I'll do when I get it installed in place. I'll come back and we'll do a full report about how the Bixby integration works, how Tizen works. I think the older model had Google Assistant in it. I think they pulled that out for the 2020 model, the one I got. But we'll find out when I get it. But then I'll plug it into the new Google TV Chromecast, and it should be pretty exciting. So, and nice. In the chat room, I know there's a lot of chatter about this. There is some issues with the HDR on this on this TV, but I don't care. I'm watching. I'm not. I'm streaming stuff. Like and there were some issues with the side angles, but like our couch is right in front of it, so that's fine. I don't love putting the TV above the mantle either. I do think that is higher, but if you saw my living room, it makes sense. It's unfortunately it's the best spot for it. So yeah. And
the thing is, as far as that's concerned, I mean, you get used to it. You adjust to it. Our TV ended up higher than I really wanted it also, but at this point I wouldn't even know the difference. It's just normal TV placement. The good
news is that the fireplace is not in function, is not in use. So I won't have any smoke or any sort of things like that. It's just more decorative at this point. So
cool. Yeah. Hey. Sweet. And then Flo, what's going on with you?
Fun TV stuff. I love TV talk.
I mean, I'm adding just another little TV thing here. It's actually kind of a short one. So I don't have I have a big, nice 50-inch whatever. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm sorry. My Pokemon started beeping.
Uh-oh.
So sorry.
Take care of your Pokemon.
No, I got like a new cartridge. It's in Japanese, and I told you my phone isn't here yet to translate it. Anyway, I don't know how to turn it off. Sorry.
Can't hear it. It's all good.
I heard it. It was very piercing. Anyway, this is all to say, we found out over the holiday that the MiBox has been contributing to the ghosting that we've been seeing on our content on the living room TV, which is the Friday night movie night TV, right? Like that, we go into that room. That's the room that the baby hasn't damaged. She's damaged the other side of the house. So this is the nice part, right? Wanted to sit down and watch TV, but I can't even watch Doesn't matter what we're watching, if it's new or old. We noticed it the most with the new Wonder Woman. And it was like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. My husband did some Googling. This appears to be an issue with one of the latest software builds that came with the MiBox. Some people said that by reverting the MiBox to an older version, it like gets rid of this ghosting issue. And I was like, this is stupid. So I just went and I just bought a Chromecast, a Google TV. I'm waiting for it to get here, and I'm throwing that thing out the window when.
Good work.
Well, hang on.
The Chromecast gets here.
Did the ghosting make Wonder Woman any better of a movie? I couldn't even finish the joke. I'm sorry.
No, it didn't. It didn't, unfortunately. Listen, I watched that whole darn thing just to look at Chris Pine. All right, I'm sorry to objectify him here on the podcast, but
even that was a waste. Even that was a waste. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're right. But anyway, so that's what I'm doing. The MiBox is going bye-bye. I'm done with it.
It's time. It's come up on this show plenty of times.
But it's $200. I just figured, listen, I'm just throwing $50 at the problem to fix it right now until eventually, whenever I finally redo my living room and I get new furniture and stuff, then I will finally go get the NVIDIA Shield and do the whole shebang. But until then, a nice Chromecast, a Google TV will work. And you know what, guys? I got a free one over the holiday. That one went upstairs in the bedroom. I have one downstairs in the family room, and this will be the third one in the living room. And I'm very happy with that. So it's a good little device. Don't get the MiBox. Just spend the $50 at Google instead of at Walmart.
No one's getting the MiBox.
This went on too long, by the way, Flo. The MiBox went on for far too long.
It's time. It's
because it works so well for Andy and Notco. So I was like, well, if it works for Andy, it'll work for me. Guess what, folks? It's not working for me. So
doesn't work that way. Not for everybody. All right.
Wow.
That's
you had a lot going on
in your home
over the holiday.
Yeah. No kidding. Well, you had the opportunity to tell us what's going on in your lives. So up next, we're going to read a few of your emails and a tweet. All right, AAA at twit.tv, 347-SHOW-AAA if you really want to leave us a voicemail. No one does. And Ron, you got the first one.
Yeah, so first one came in over Twitter from Rico Cantrell, at Rico Cantrell, who said, random tablet question. The Asus has been a trooper. Doesn't look like they're making it anymore. The Lenovo Tab M10 Plus looks to be a good alternative. Thoughts? And for those longtime listeners are referring to the fact that Asus no longer makes the wonderful tablet that I love, which I still use to this day, the ZenPad 3S 10 or whatever it is. Yeah, and it looks as if the only tablets Asus is making are super, super high-end, expensive ones that aren't even that available. And so I thought this would be a good time to take a look at the world of about 10-inch tablets to see what we like and what we think works and what we think doesn't work. And I got to admit that if I was in the market to buy a tablet today, it probably would be a Samsung. I feel like the Samsung line of tablets is probably the best for what I would be looking for. And depending on, this is a tweet, so at Rico Cantrell didn't tell me how much he's looking for or how much he's looking to spend. But the Samsung Galaxy S6, the Tab S6 Lite, is about $325 or so. You can get it for $327 from Amazon. That feels like the right amount of money for a tablet, for me at least. I know the Samsung, was it the 7? The Tab S7 is like a $600 to $800 tablet. That's too much. Unless it's a convertible, book, laptop kind of, more powerful device. If you're looking for a media consumption tablet, I feel like 300 is the sweet spot. Oh, look at that. Oh, wow. Is that like, it's like the abominable snowman. Is that a Burke in the wild? What were you holding up there, Burke, on the video?
It's my older Tab S.
Yeah. Yep.
10.
So
I think it's a 3.
Yeah, so S3, S3, yeah, the older ones, right? The Samsung tablets I think are solid. If you're looking for a super affordable tablet, you might want to look into the Galaxy Tab A7, which you can get for $150, which is much cheaper. Performance on that isn't nearly as good. And then you might also want to look into the Huawei MediaPad M5, which you can get on Amazon or some other places for about $250. So that's in between the two Samsungs. I have not had a chance to play with the Lenovo M10, but I did look into it before doing this, and it does look like it's a pretty solid, nice tablet. I just don't know enough about it to say whether or not it's truly a replacement for my beloved ZenPad. But 10-inch, the tablet market seems to have degraded to the point of just being all of Samsung's tablets or Amazon Fire tablets, and there's not a lot left out there in that category. I don't know. Flo, Jason, do you guys have a tablet that you would recommend? Or
I did bring the Lenovo Smart Tab M10 HD a couple weeks ago. That's like a super affordable $120 tablet. But if it says 2 gigs of RAM, just run away. It's just too slow. That's too slow to even do internet. It's too slow to even do online shopping. I was trying to do a Target order, and it took me forever to do it through the browser. So if you're looking for something a little multitasking, maybe don't worry so much about processor as much as that memory, because you need that. You need it.
Agreed.
God, I was just scrambling, looking around here. This is how scrambled I am just in my brain, let alone the room. I have a Galaxy Tab S7 floating around here somewhere that I've been using and hoping to kind of feature on the show at some point. This would be the prime time to do it, but I don't know where it is.
I mean, those tablets are... Samsung makes their high performance tablets, which are iPad level performance, I would say.
Yeah,
but if
the
you're
S7,
looking for
not the S7 Plus.
Well,
the one that I have, which I mean, yes, it's still high performance. It's just not, the bigger size, and and it's a great tablet actually. As far as Android tablets, go, it's a really solidly built tablet. Good experience. I've actually enjoyed it quite a bit, but it's really it just kind of is hard to recommend spending $650-$700 on an Android tablet. Personally, I kind of have a hard time doing that unless you know what you need is an Android tablet that costs that much. I don't think you're probably going to spend $700 on an Android tablet. So yes, it's great, but you got to justify the cost on it. And I don't know that it's absolutely worth it. This S7 is certainly not a no-brainer as far as that's concerned. And then my kids have the A7 10.4. They have, that's their tablet, and that's like you said, Ron, around $250-$260, and it's fine for them. I mean, what are they doing? They're watching movies, watching YouTube, playing some games on it, and they're happy, but they're not of discriminating taste as far as that's concerned. So, I do know that when I use it and if I play certain games on it, I get some slowdown and stuff, and that would be a bummer to me if that was my tablet and it was doing that. So just some random advice there.
Tablets.
Android tablets. I love tablet talk. We could do a whole show on tablets.
Should we move on to another viewer listener email? And this one is about not tablets, but this one's about things you listen to. This one comes in from Amy. I get frustrated when you guys talk about True Wireless headphones and act like they usually cost about $200. I bought True Wireless earbuds during the summer of 2019. I bought Anker Soundcore ones, which emphasize battery life. It was about $70 on sale and has 100 hours of battery life. They're still selling these headphones on sale for about $50.
Nice.
Soundcore has other True Wireless earbuds with different emphasis, all for under $100. My daughter says this one sounds really good and is about $70. There are lots of options. Amy. Thanks, Amy, for writing in. Those are definitely good options. I did bring a pair of Anker Soundcore True Wireless buds a couple of weeks ago that were sort of the successors to the ones that you mentioned. I will say that, you get what you pay for. So maybe, you're getting something that sounds good, but the earbud might falter on comfort. Those Anchor earbuds that I brought in, they kind of look like little black AirPods, whatever they're called.
There we go.
And they're very uncomfortable for my ear type. I pretty much only use them when I'm like about to doze off at sleep and I don't want to bother my husband, because they're just a little too uncomfortable to wear for a while. Or in other instances, maybe the earbuds aren't as water resistant or sweat resistant, things of that nature. So it's true that you can find pretty good sound for $100 and under, but think about maybe some of the concessions you might be making in exchange for that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Amy. Yeah, right. Sounds like Amy's pretty happy with what she has. 100. I mean, it sounds like those headphones, like the deal on those is that you get that battery life. 100 hours of battery life is pretty awesome for true wireless earbuds. So way to go on those, man. Way back, however many years ago that it was that I actually started allowing myself to check out these true wireless earbuds was the Anchor Zolo Liberty was like the first earbud set. So along the same family line, it sounds like the earbuds that you have right now, Amy, are the successors to those, and I actually really like them a lot. But touching on what Flo said, I did find them to be very uncomfortable in long periods of time. Like they sounded fine to me, and they were okay in short periods, but over time, it would get really uncomfortable to me. So, but you're right. There are a lot of earbuds that are less than $100. True wireless earbuds. I mean, in general, I would say, especially you're going to find a ton of these, a ton of different brands on Amazon, all offering true wireless earbuds. A lot of times, the ones that are in that low kind of $50, $40, $60 price range, a lot of them, and Anchor is not included in this, but a lot of them are kind of like Chinese knockoff brands. It's almost like you could find 5 different listings for 5 totally different brands that seem unrelated, but then you look at the pictures and you realize they're the same damn headphones, but with different branding on them. So you just want to do your homework and do your research, because yes, there are a lot of earphones that fall into that price category. Just be sure that you trust the brand name, and that like you said, Flo, that the reviews that come in for those that are listed for those are trustable, because people do game the review system on Amazon as well. So just be sure, because the low end ones that you get, if you get kind of like a knockoff brand, they're not that good for a number of different reasons that we don't need to spend time talking about right now. But just be sure. But it sounds like you found one that makes you happy, and I'm happy you wrote in, Amy. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
And now it's time for the email of the week.
Hooray!
Yes. Lionel has the is the email of the week, the first email of the week of the new year. Says, regarding episode 505 and your discussion about the COVID apps, we talked about this last week, says, it sounds like the U.S. is a bit of a mess, but in the U.K., having a central NHS-driven rollout of the app has made it a relative success. I've heard of friends who have both had notifications to self-isolate and who have used it to report their illness, ensuring that others can stay at home. 100% usage and efficacy is never going to be achievable, and that is very true. But like all our measures, if enough people can use the app, it'll make a measurable difference. I also applaud the NHS for releasing their algorithm publicly. Yeah, that's great. Continues, despite lots of positives I've heard from friends about it working, I've also heard people say to me flatly that it doesn't work and it's not private, based purely on their assumption and without evidence. What I think is happening is that we as tech society, in quotes, are hampering our own ability to roll out things like this because of 2 things. First, the history of privacy problems with tech companies and governments in the past. And second, because of the way that we jump on negatives about the tech products and services that we use. His email was a little bit longer than that. I had to kind of shorten it, so I apologize. I hope I got all the important points in there, Lionel. But it's a great point. Like, it's easy to kind of jump. Like last week, we kind of jumped on the case of the COVID apps, rather the rollout of this exposure notification collaboration between Google and Apple, and how, here we are at the end of the year and it's only just starting to really hit here in the US, the apps anyways, and it doesn't seem to be making a whole lot of difference. So we're kind of taking Google specifically to task on that as best as we could. Or maybe it's just the scenario. I don't even know if it's Google's problem or Google's fault. It's just the fact that it's unfortunate that this technology exists and more people aren't using it, and it's not as effective as it could be. And Lionel, you're making a good point. Sometimes we paint with a wide brush, and maybe we have a responsibility to look at it a little bit more objectively, so that we can encourage more people to use these apps, because that would be incredibly helpful. I know I've got it running on my phone. Anytime I turn off Bluetooth for whatever reason, I get a notification that screams at me and says, this is not going to work anymore because you turned off Bluetooth. So it's very effective. When I see that, I'm like, oh, and I turn it back on. But I just don't know how many other people are doing that. And I would encourage people to do it. I think for the greater good, it's a good thing to have running and have enacted. I just don't know how many people are really making that jump.
Well, I'm doing the same in New York, and I get the same notification when I turn Bluetooth off and I turn it back on, that sort of thing. And I don't mean to be snarky or get political, but I think it, isn't the UK under like countrywide lockdown now?
Yeah.
Relative success is relative, I guess, right? Given what it is, I know the NHS worked very hard, and I know there's that new strain in the UK, and there's a lot of factors, but I just don't know if the data, like, it's garbage in, garbage out. Like, as great as these apps are and the concept of contact tracing and all this sort of stuff is, I just don't, with this particular scenario, I don't know if we could ever get a handle on it, in this way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that at least we're trying, but that's the sad part of it. So yeah.
And let's think about just how frustrating it is that we had to kind of put this in the hands of two private companies, Google and Apple, to sort of help us implement it on our phones. We don't have a centralized government entity, unfortunately, that is contributing to this. The NHS is a much different sort of, I wish we had a situation like that in the US where we could sort of go somewhere centralized and there, we had that kind of support, but we don't. So I think if we can take anything from this is to look at, it is messed up, but the best way to figure out how to do better next time is to count on the mistakes and see what went wrong. So for us, we need to look at this and think about the policies that we vote for, think about, as the news makes headlines, like what it means for us as citizens of the world. So some things.
How we can learn and make a better system the next time a pandemic happens.
Welcome to biology.
Yeah. I appreciate your perspective, Lionel. Thank you so much for writing in and being the email of the week. All right. We have reached the end of this episode of All About Android, but the story continues each and every week. Don't worry, we're not going away forever, just for another 6.5 days. Flo, what you want to talk about?
I have a website, florenceion.com. If you want to go just see little blog posts I've written, links to my work. I need to update the site this week. I did have some new work go up at Gizmodo over the holiday, a mechanical gaming keyboard battle moto. So go check that out if you're interested. But other than that, I'm just kind of taking it a little easy. I have some podcast appearances coming up, so just kind of stay tuned for that. But until then, the best place to find me is florenceion.com.
Nice. florenceion.com. And what about you, Ron?
Yeah, you can go follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RonXO. It is that time of year. I am trying to capture as many discarded Christmas trees as possible. And I appreciate everybody who has supplied me with discarded Christmas trees. Tom Merritt sent me some breaking news. If you go on Instagram stories, you can see Tom checked in from LA and showed the new trend of people putting Christmas trees standing straight up on the street, not laying down, which is a new trend. Yeah, fascinating. But you can also go to scorebit.io, which is my company that's connecting pinball machines to the internet, which is a lot of fun. But if you're looking for another podcast to listen to, head over to ifanboy.com. Right before the holidays, we released our year-end all media roundup, where me and Josh and Connor over there talked about our favorite movies, TV shows, books, and music, podcasts, all stuff like that. It's always a fun end of the year kind of discussion. So if you're into media, check that out over at ifanboy.com.
Nice. Sounds good. And congratulations on your new home, sir.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I know. You got your work cut out for you over the next weeks, getting it all set up. Big thanks to the folks behind the scene who help us do the show each and every week. You even heard from one of them, Burke. Thank you so much for being at the studio, for hopping in on occasion, and for pushing all the buttons to make this show happen. Also, big thanks to Victor, who is going to be editing this show and has helped with a lot of different elements of tonight's show. And we'll make sure that you get it delivered to your podcatcher of choice. As for me, if you noticed or you didn't, Hands on Android is no more. The show is done. So where am I going to direct you? You can either go to twit.tv/TNW for Tech News Weekly, or I'll just let you know I'm doing some writing now, and I'm actually having a lot of fun doing it. Medium.com/@JasonHowell. And awesome. I've never done this before, like writing about technology. And it's just, I feel like it's a skill that I'm learning right now. So I would appreciate if you go to medium.com/@JasonHowell. You can find a couple of articles that I've written. I've got another one. I'm probably going to be writing about this Commodore 64 because I've got stories. So I'm going to write about that and a few other things. So check out my writing. And if you have any tips or anything on how I can improve, because like I said, I'm learning as I go, hit me up. Let me know. Twit.tv/survey21 is where you can go, because we have a survey. We do it every January. It's our annual survey. It really just helps us understand you, the audience. And really what we want to do is we want to make your listening experience even better than it already is. It's totally anonymous. It takes about 5 minutes total. And we just really appreciate all the feedback and insight that we get, the good, the bad, everything. We want to hear it. Twit.tv/survey21, and you can take it and you'll really help us out when you do that. Don't forget to wear a mask and save some lives in the process. And that is it for this week. We publish this show every Tuesday evening. Just go to twit.tv/AAA. That is our show page on the web. You'll find all the links to subscribe, jump out to YouTube. Everything you need to know is there. That's it for this week. We'll see you next time on another episode of All About Android. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.